Good morning. Welcome to the weekly update by TreasuryONE about what's happening in the currency market. I'm Cilliers, head of market risk at TreasuryONE, and joining me today is Cilliers, currency strategist at TreasuryONE. So, Andre, obviously this week we started off with the rand a little bit on the back foot. We've seen US Treasury yields rise quite substantially over the last week or so. Almost 10-year Treasury yields almost touching 1.4% this morning. What do you make of this tendency we're currently seeing in the US? And is it similar to the taper tantrum that we saw in 2013?
Well, good morning, rather, to everybody. I don't want to draw a comparison back to 2013, but I would say that the rise in yields that we're currently seeing has all got to do with the COVID-19 vaccination process that now stands well over 200 million vaccinations that's taken place worldwide. Even here in South Africa, we are seeing that it's underway. But that gives rise to the possibility or the expectation, rather, of economic growth returning to markets throughout this year. And with economic growth returning to markets this year, it's expected that that would be bringing back some inflation in the world, and some inflation in the world, especially in the US, gives concern to its interest rates, and hence you're seeing that yields are slightly on the increase, quite significantly actually, but now in real numbers it's very small. As a percentage, it's quite significant. I think it will happen throughout this year, that will happen, but for this week, I think we should step away from all these international things, because I don't think that that's really of too much concern for the South Africans this week. I think they want to know what is it that Mr. Mboweni is going to do during his budget speech. How badly is he going to hit the rich, and how big is he going to favor the poor, and what is he going to do to curb spending, and what is he going to get to do money. Now, I've read over the weekend, there's still this rumors of a wealth tax and how that can be implemented and how much money that can really yield. But what's the effects of that on people immigrating and leaving the country and eroding a tax base quite further? Well, at least this year, Mr. Mboweni has got an advantage that not too many countries want South Africans at the moment. So I don't think immigration is quite a big one. But I think what's one of the biggest things that we're waiting for, and that's going to give us quite a bit of a surprise, is the income side for the previous tax year in terms of tax collections, because we've seen that there was a massive rise in profits, especially on the mining house side. And I think Mr. Mboweni is getting quite a bit of a windfall. So I think there could be some positive figures on that side that actually alleviates the pressure on getting too much taxes. And if he reorganizes his spending, then he could quite surprisingly actually get to quite a positive stance on the budget this year. So it's going to be interesting what he does. But I still think that when we look at sin taxes, I think we're going to see double-digit increases. I think he's going to hit people hard. However, there is a concern that if he hits them too hard, he hits an industry that has been very severely punished by the COVID-19 pandemic, because it's on the liquor sales, which is the sin tax side, that people was closed for a heck of a long time. So, but I think still there, double-digit increases. I think slightly no increases on taxes on the corporate side, and very little movement actually on the income tax side is my feeling. I think the emphasis will be lying on how he curbs spending and what he does to bring and rein in the spending of the fiscus, and how he reorganizes and distribute the money, the little bit that he's got, between departments, and how that will be spent, and how much money is going to state-owned entities, and what happens to funding of the vaccination program.
So all in all, if we see a surprise on the budget to the upside like we're expecting, it can be supportive of the rand. But will the rand only look at what's happening to the budget, or will the rise in US yields actually overshadow what's happening locally. And like we've seen plenty of time, international markets dominate rather than any local factors. What is your view? Do you think we go test about 15 this week or back towards 1460?
Okay, well, no budget speech, no nothing that happens in South Africa has changed the scenario in the last 10, 15 years. And for that period, the international market is always dominated. It's not going to change overnight. So park that one. Yes, yields, rising yields, the path of the dollar, the path of the international economy will determine what happens on the markets by far. To a 70, 80% determination of what happens there will happen in South Africa. And there, I think the dollar could come under a little bit of pressure. And that's an interesting one. Even with rising yields, the dollar might come a little bit under pressure because it's rising yields, not from such a strong point in the economy, but rather a weak point in the economy. And thence we can see that the rand could test very well the 15 levels, with a dollar returning back to the 120, 120.20 levels against the euro, slightly going above the 15. But I want to really throw out the line there and say to our exporters, if it happens and we do see the 15.10, 15.20 levels, then you should take some cover, take advantage of the forward points that is still up for grabs on the table, and take some cover, especially on the short term end.
Thank you so much for your time, Andre. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.